on Thursday night. We've got a pretty important game here to start the season for both of these teams, I think, as far as how successful they're going to be in 2024. We have ACC versus Big Ten, North Carolina and Minnesota on Thursday night. We saw Minnesota open a 1-point home favorite. They went up to 3-point home favorites, and now there's been a huge back and steam the other way on North Carolina to the point that the Tar Heels are now favored on the road in this game in Minnesota. 1.5-point road favorites, 50.5 being the total in this game. I know there are some injury concerns with Minnesota. I think along the offensive line coming into the year, we'll have to see. Maybe that played a part in the line move. Maybe it's just because, people are seeing North Carolina as a pretty solid team the last few years. I was initially interested in Minnesota. I wasn't sure I was going to get involved after it moved to -3. Now that it's at +1.5, I'm more interested in Minnesota. I'm just interested to see what the injury situation is for them. Look, a lot of people are making a big deal of the offense last year for Minnesota and how much it struggled. And there's no question, as far as the passing game, there really was no passing game. It was a terrible passing game. Anything they did on offense pretty much was via the ground game. And running the football is probably still going to be, the focus for Minnesota offensively this year. The way I see it here for them coming into this season is you can't get any worse quarterback play than you got last year from the Greek Stallion, Ethan Kaliakmanis. I thought he was awful. I just did not think he was cut out to be a really strong, capable, competent, accurate, consistently college football #1 quarterback. Definitely left a lot to be desired, in my opinion, as far as his play at the quarterback position. And now you go into this year, and obviously he's departed, and I think that actually is a good thing, even though you're breaking in a new quarterback here for Minnesota this year, and it is a guy that played at the FCS level prior to this season. Talking about, of course, Max Brosmer, who's now going to be the starting quarterback. New Hampshire is where he played at the FCS level. Darius Taylor's back, though, at the running back spot, capable. Their top wide receiver, Daniel Jackson, returns. There's 3 starters on the O-line back for Minnesota. So there's pieces in place here for Brosmer to be successful. I don't know, C-Mac, how good Brosmer is going to be. His numbers, and remember, this is FCS football. His numbers weren't great. They were good. They were not phenomenal. But I'm willing to say it's an upgrade right away without seeing this guy yet take a snap in a major FBS game for his new team, Minnesota. And the reason I'm saying I think it's still an upgrade is because Kaliakmanis, to me, was that bad last year for Minnesota. To me, you can only go up at the quarterback position as far as production with Brosmer for Minnesota. Obviously, look, North Carolina, I know they've taken the money here the last few days. This is a team that loses not just a quarterback, but a good quarterback, a first-round NFL-bound quarterback in Drake May, and you replace him with Max Johnson, who to me there's a reason he's bounced around the last couple of years. He's okay. He's serviceable. I don't think he's great by any stretch of the imagination. His numbers at A&M were okay when Wegman got hurt. I don't think he lit it up by any stretch of the imagination. I'm going to have to see it before I believe it with the Tar Heels on the defensive side of the football. That's always been a problem for North Carolina the last few years. Even last year, 29 points per game, 79th in college football on defense. It's not what you want to see. They lost a shit ton of production. 1 starting offensive lineman back. I know they love their running back, Omarion Hampton, but I'm telling you what, that O-line is turning over quite a bit this year as far as not much returning there. A quarterback, too, Max Johnson, that's not, let's say he's not Josh Allen as far as mobility. And I'm being kind when I say that. So he needs a good offensive line. Will he have it? He needs protection to be effective. Will he get that protection is a big question. Bottom line is I don't agree with the move. I'm not part of it. And now that Minnesota's a home dog, I'm very much interested in the Gophers in this game. C-Mac, what do you think? North Carolina, Minnesota.
Yeah, this is one that I really, really don't love, and I don't know if I get to the window. I'll get on it real first. If I look at this when I was going through it the last even week a little bit, this game before we got going, was the total, here to the under in this game. We got to wait on the weather here, and I don't really have it. I saw it before. I guess there's going to be a little bit of wind maybe, but we're still out days, so it's a little bit.
One thing I've done, and the reason why sometimes the show goes too long is I've wasted time talking about the weather on a show that we record on Monday. I'm not doing that anymore.
Well, yeah, and when
between now and then.
Well, I had looked it up, so I was just kind of bringing it up. But yeah, and for the most part, we won't be in weather till it gets cold. So same thing with me. I just when I was looking, I glanced at a few of these games. There wasn't many. With the weather is pretty good right now this time of year. You know, last year they're missing. You talked about May's gone, wide receiver Walker is out. These teams played last year. You know, I'll take a ton from that. And before that they haven't even met. Carolina won 31-13, and it was a Minnesota team that just couldn't move the ball. They're just, that offense was horrible. I thought the defense was okay, but it still wasn't a great Minnesota defense. And they gave up some big points in a lot of these games.
Yep.
And a little bit to the over was Minnesota, a team. And we all know how bad North Carolina was. You flip to that side, 94th overall, you know, gave up over 400 yards. And that was a pretty good start to the year, where I was thinking, you know, 4 or 5 weeks, is this – I had a feeling it was coming back around, that they would show their colors. They did.